We have like two small topics to cover for this chapter. So one is about we call this group effectiveness, but actually this is about the size of the group, or usually they say the span of the management. How many people directly report to one manager? More people report to a manager, that means more efficient. This is called the wide span. One manager responsible for a large group. Think about the organization, the old chart, right? Usually you don't see that the wide span, right? But you see department, how many people, how many head count for that in that department. But also there are like the narrow span. The narrow span means like one manager, they are like a very small team, one or two. Either this is only for those staff position, those supporting function, right? So for example, the chief compliance officer, the legal, the chief legal officer, those supporting department, they might have a small team. They can outsource their responsibilities to external. Somehow I have learned also HR, they can outsource. Call center, they can outsource. That means they don't need a big team. Honestly, wide span is usually for them, like positions like marketing, right? And then what else? Operation, production, right? So procurement as well. It's very difficult to outsource those core department, core functions. It depends on the complexity, right? But also for me, it depends on the function. So I already started to discuss about the line positions and then the staff position. But also like regarding this organizational levels, think about the old chart. But if we talk about the organization as a whole, we will see some of the organization, we call this tall organization. Tall organization means like there are more layers, usually, right? It's a narrow span of management. What I have experienced, or like in my opinion, most of the companies will see like this structure. It's called the flat organization. And then with the wide span of management. Think about the grocery store. Think about those restaurant, like say Yum brands, right? Those restaurant chains. This is the headquarter level, right? We know there are more people, there are more departmental functions, but we have another old chart. I want you to actually collect a old chart, select one company, one agribusiness company that you are interested, and then try to get the old chart. If you cannot get the old chart, you draw one. Show me that you did the research, and then how their old chart look like. Actually, this chapter makes things more complicated, in my opinion. Show me the old chart. That's it. Okay. Tell me this is tall or flat. The most important thing is the old chart. You know who is the president. You guys know, like actually PepsiCo, I just mentioned, right? PepsiCo is a huge company. They have many product lines, right? So PepsiCo, they own the Gatorade brand. You know that, right? And then also the Starbucks bottled coffee also belonged to PepsiCo. It's not belong to Starbucks. Very interesting, huh? So there will be other things like will influence or affect this group effectiveness, right? So I want to skip this one because I said that this is less important. And then you take a quick look, okay, for those factors, how those factors influence the number of employees. This group effective sounds like a very fancy word, right? So anyway, I just use a very common, like the size of the team, the size of the group, right? How many people reported to the manager? The very last, point we talk about, actually we have already mentioned the line position and then the staff position. Don't get confused, okay? The staff position doesn't mean that the employee, the low level staff. The staff position is more like the staff position are all those supportive functions, legal, HR, compliance, right? So, and then they have like a diversity inclusive, officer, those are like newly created. But anyway, also include the labor union. And then they are very typical narrow span. Why? one manager, one staff, or one manager, one associate manager. Okay, so like a system manager, associate manager, whatever, for those core functions, core departments, those directly chain, those of command that with the specific responsibility for accomplishing the goal of the organization. Okay, so nothing wrong, right? Nothing wrong, but these are the major or the core departments, the functions we talk about: marketing, procurement, the sales, operation, production. Those are like the core department. As a quick wrap up, this chapter is very straightforward. We talk about the 5 components, right? If you still remember, process of the organization, right? So how we organizing the, our agribusiness. Recommend you to focus on the O chart, organizational chart.